Imagine pulling the trigger on a blurred silhouette in the fog, only to discover far too late that it was wearing the same uniform as you. The enemy was no longer on the island, but the fear was still there, breathing through the snow, the mud, and the paranoia. This is not a war story. It is an experiment in psychological collapse under extreme conditions. 518 14-inch shells, 487 8-inch shells. Total hits recorded? 0. There wasn't a single enemy ship, barge, or soldier within a 200 nautical mile radius. That is the ballistics of a technological hallucination. It is midnight, July 27th, in a world consumed by war. You are trapped inside the belly of the battleship USS Mississippi. The air is thick, clogged with the stench of oil paint, heavy fuel, and the rancid sweat of hundreds of men who haven't seen daylight in weeks. Your eyes are glued to a primitive radar screen, a cathode ray tube casting a sickly green flicker across your face. No clutter filters, no software corrections, just 7 bright blips persisting on the periphery of the electromagnetic beam. 7 thermal signatures that command, driven by a heavy dose of inherited paranoia, interprets as a Japanese resupply fleet ready to strike. And then they open fire. The detonation of the 14-inch main batteries isn't a sound. It's a physical concussion that tears through the welded steel deck plates, travels up your boots, and empties your lungs. For a fraction of a second, the muzzle flash obliterates the fog, revealing absolutely nothing. Yet, watchmen with pupils dilated from fear and sleep deprivation report fake flares on the horizon, phantom torpedo wakes cutting through the black water, and gun flashes that exist only behind their own eyes. 31 minutes of blind bombardment just to obliterate the ocean. By dawn, maritime reconnaissance finds no floating debris, no oil slicks, no bodies, just empty water and a lingering taste of embarrassment. Physics doesn't care about military propaganda. What those radar operators saw on their consoles wasn't imperial steel, it was a tropospheric anomaly. A thermal inversion layer in the lower Aleutian atmosphere acted as an electromagnetic mirror, bending the radar beam downward and bouncing back the warped echo of island topography hundreds of miles away. Combine that with the dense sonar return of millions of sooty shearwaters, massive migratory birds resting on the sea surface that night, and you get the perfect ghost flotilla. But while the United States Navy was wasting its ammunition on wildlife and fog, the real threat was moving in absolute, terrifying silence. Exactly 55 minutes. That was all Rear Admiral Masatomi Kimura needed to slip 2 light cruisers and several destroyers into Kiska Harbor, evacuate 5,193 Japanese soldiers, mine the island's approaches, and vanish under the blanket of a persistent low-pressure system. They didn't leave behind a garrison ready to die for the Emperor. They left an enormous concrete graveyard of empty tunnels, a psychological trap of lethal magnetism, just waiting to snap shut on the 34,000 Allied troops already sailing toward the coast. And that was just the beginning. "90% of the landing force was combat ineffective before they even touched the shore, completely shattered by their own vestibular systems. You see, the military manuals of the era failed to account for the physics of a Liberty-class transport ship tossing in the Bering Sea. You don't just describe these waves, you suffer them. You are trapped in a triple bunk welded directly to the steel bulkhead of the hull. The metal vibrates and groans at a frequency that drives itself straight into the base of your skull. The lateral roll exceeds 35 degrees of tilt. The fluid in your inner ear sloshes without respite, triggering an acute motion sickness that empties your stomach and drains your muscles in the pitch-black chaos of the troop compartment. The violence of the water smashing against the hull is so relentless that the bolts and weld points of the bunk frames begin to snap. They tear away with a metallic screech. A reminder that only a thin layer of carbon steel separates you from a 34-degree ocean. When the landing craft finally drop their ramps at Quisling Cove, the sea doesn't welcome you with solid sand. It throws you head first into the muskeg. That is a spongy layer of rotten, waterlogged tundra covering Kiska's volcanic soil like a diseased skin. You take your first step, and instantly sink up to your knees. The mud exerts a mechanical suction that locks your joints. Every time you try to lift a leg to advance, the vacuum pulls your footwear down with such violence that it tears the laces right off your standard-issue leather boots, forcing you to crawl barefoot through the freezing mire. The muscular toll is severe. Lactic acid floods your quadriceps and calves after a mere 100 yards. There is no tactical advance here. There is only a mass of thousands of men dragging themselves forward, losing their boots and burning through their energy reserves before a single command post is even established. To survive the first night, you need shelter. But the island's geology rejects standard military technology. You pull out the canvas of your pyramidal bell tent, but protocol demands you clear away the layers of decaying moss with your bare hands first. You have to dig through the slushy muck until you hit solid volcanic bedrock, the sharp, black basalt that destroys the edges of standard entrenching shovels. The basic wooden and soft aluminum pegs bend and splinter on impact. You are forced to hammer directly into the stone with fingers completely numbed by the cold. Desperately trying to secure a tie-down point while the willy wall, a dense katabatic wind, howls down from the volcanic peaks at over 60 miles per hour. That wind doesn't just blow, it strikes like a solid mass, flipping rubber boats on the shoreline and shredding any canvas tent not anchored down by 80-pound boulders. By now, you are soaked. Your gabardine uniform is saturated with rainwater and cold sweat that refuses to evaporate in a perpetual 100% humidity. The mud seeps through your trousers, sticks to your skin, and begins to drain your core body temperature through accelerated conduction. You are trapped in a volcanic sponge that silently devours your strength. Surrounded by a fog so thick it erases the mending 2 yards away, it leaves you utterly alone, with the sound of your own ragged breathing. If this forensic autopsy of human collapse is making you uncomfortable, it's because your mind recognizes real danger when the myths of wartime glory are stripped away. Support this investigation. Subscribe now to secure your access to the next levels of this archive. And don't lose the trail of the men the official history books left to rot in the fog. Leave your mark on this record before the cold cuts our communications entirely. Because this environmental demolition was just the warm-up. The true enemy of a modern military force doesn't always wear a uniform. Sometimes, it's just the freezing point of the gear you hold in your hands. At 25 degrees Fahrenheit, the viscosity of standard mineral-based lubricant multiplies by 300. It transforms into a solid paste that instantly paralyzes the recoil spring of a semi-automatic rifle. The physics of materials don't give a damn about tactical necessity. You are standing on the basalt ridge of Hill 300. The actual temperature has plummeted to 10 degrees, but the katabatic wind accelerates the convective heat transfer on your skin, dragging the wind chill well below -20. You are holding your M1 Garand with bare hands. The canvas and leather of your gloves have frozen solid, turning into 2 rigid molds that completely cut off the circulation to your fingers. You try to chamber around. The bolt inches forward with agonizing slowness, choked by the solidified oil that was supposed to keep the mechanism friction-free. You pull the trigger. The firing pin strikes the primer with a pathetic cushioned thud. No detonation, just a dry click, swallowed by the vastness of the storm. Your weapon is now nothing but an 8-pound iron club. The electromechanical decay moves faster than you can walk. Strapped to your back is the SCR-300 walkie-talkie, 30 pounds of cutting-edge technology meant to link you to the beachhead. But the BA-37 dry batteries don't care about wartime logistics in extreme climates. In this freezing cold, the ionic activity inside the zinc carbon cells slows to a dead stop. Operating voltage falls off a cliff. Within a single hour of exposure, your radio's range shrinks from 3 miles to a few useless yards. You scream into the frozen Bakelite microphone. The moisture from your breath condenses and freezes instantly over the receiver membrane, choking out the sound waves. There is only static, a flat, icy white noise confirming that the chain of command has dissolved into the atmosphere. You are completely cut off in a vertical twilight. I know you are listening to this in a climate-controlled room. You probably have a warm drink within reach, and the absolute certainty that the roof over your head isn't about to rip open under a 60-mile-per-hour gale. It's comfortable to stare into the abyss through a screen. It's deeply satisfying to analyze the collapse of these men, knowing your own skin is safe from frostbite. But distance doesn't make you immune to their desperation. They also believed that the technology of the most industrialized nation on Earth would shield them from the raw elements. They were wrong. The isolation is total. Transmissions are dead. Weapons are useless iron rods. The fog thickens until the white of the ground and the white of the sky merge into a single blinding dimension that completely shatters your equilibrium. Nature has achieved the total technical disarmament of an entire invasion force. Now, all that's left is to wait for the human mind to start manufacturing its own demons in the dark. If you are willing to follow this collapse without filters or false heroism, you need to lock down your spot at the observation post. Support this forensic record. Subscribe to the channel right now to validate the recovery of these cursed files and ensure the algorithm doesn't bury the chronicles of the men who vanished in the Aleutians. Leave your mark before the static wipes out the signal entirely. The electromechanical blackout is complete. Radio silence is absolute. The forward units are no longer a coordinated army. They are scattered factions of armed, terrified men, utterly incapable of recognizing what is waiting for them behind the curtain of fog, closing in on the ridges of Kiska. And that was when the friendly fire began. 6 feet. That is the exact distance at which the Aleutian fog dissolves the silhouette of a human body, twisting it into a black, shapeless, hostile mass. Beyond that physical threshold, your brain stops processing reality. It starts projecting its own traumas onto the dark. You are standing on the basalt peninsula of Kiska. You haven't slept in 48 hours. Your underwear is glued to your skin by cold sweat. And your mind is completely unraveled by exhaustion and a severe lack of glucose. The terrain is a maze of razor-sharp volcanic ridges that fragment your squad into isolated pieces. Rear Admiral Kincaid's orders echo in your memory like a death sentence. The enemy is hiding in the tunnels, waiting for the perfect moment to launch a suicidal banzai charge. Thanks to the total radio failure, every single corner is an informational void. You don't know where your lines are. You don't know who is to your left. You are utterly blind. Floating in a sea of freezing vapor, where your only reference point is the cold steel barrel of your rifle. Then you hear a crunch to your right, the sharp snap of a boot breaking frozen moss. Instinct takes over. Your index finger slips onto the trigger guard of your M1 Garand. Extreme hypervigilance dilates your pupils, but the fog refuses to yield. The primal fear of a nighttime infiltration clouds your judgment. You see a shadow shift through the mist. There is no time to verify identity, no room for questions. The survival protocol is simple. Whatever moves in the dark on Kiska is the enemy. You pull the trigger. The muzzle flash tears through the gloom for a millisecond, and before you can even process the impact, the ridgeline ahead of you explodes with an uninterrupted volley of automatic gunfire. You are trapped in a blind duel against your own shadow, just a few yards away. Men from the US 87th Mountain Infantry Regiment are trading heavy fire with Canadian troops. Nobody knows who they are shooting at, but everyone is firing with savage ferocity. Collective panic acts like an electric current jumping between isolated units. Browning machine guns bite into the fog, hand grenades detonate against limestone boulders, and shrapnel rips through the air in every direction. Men who shared the exact same transport ship are tearing each other to pieces at the bottom of a volcanic ravine, utterly convinced they are repeating the bloody resistance of Attu. It is the absolute collapse of operational control, a massive war machine cannibalizing itself, driven by a collective hallucination. When the shooting finally stops and the wind clears the gunpowder smoke, the silence that returns to the peninsula is heavier than the storm. There are no victory cries in a foreign tongue, only the agonizing groans of wounded soldiers whimpering in your own language as they bleed out on the black mud of the tundra. The dogs abandoned by the Japanese garrison sprint between the rocks, terrified by the blasts, turning into fresh targets for twitchy sentries who keep firing at every stray echo. Paranoia has run its full biological course, transforming an unopposed occupation into a slaughterhouse of uncontrolled fratricide, all under the blind watch of the volcano, and the final bill was about to come due. A 1-pound chunk of limestone breaking free from a 300-foot ridge reaches a terminal velocity of nearly 100 miles per hour just before impact. The resulting kinetic energy is roughly 360 foot-pounds. That is more than enough to fracture a human temporal bone, rupture the middle meningeal artery, and trigger an epidural hematoma that floods the cranium with blood while the body is still trying to stand up. The physics of trauma don't give a damn about military rank or strategic intent. They simply obliterate brain matter. The forensic autopsy of the ground casualties on Kiska isn't found in official history books. It is extracted directly from the records of the 87th Mountain Infantry Regiment. When military medics scraped the volcanic muck off the uniforms during the first 48 hours of the invasion, they didn't find shrapnel from Japanese grenades, nor did they dig out Arasaka rifle rounds. They found Allied lead. 30-06 Springfield bullets lodged deep in thoracic tissue, clean perforations from high-velocity rounds that tore through standard-issue gabardine jackets and wool coats before shredding the lungs of men who died screaming for medics in their own native tongue. The mechanics of death by friendly fire are a simple equation of geometry and panic. Forensic investigators analyzing the trajectory of the wounds on the basalt ridges determined that over 70% of the fatal shots were fired at point-blank range, under 50 feet. These men weren't falling to organized crossfire from distant enemy bunkers. They were executing each other in the bottoms of ravines, blindfolded by a fog that twisted the silhouette of a standard Allied helmet into the profile of Imperial steel. Every single burst from a Browning machine gun triggered a hysterical, cascading response from the opposite ridge, a domino effect where ammunition consumption was directly proportional to sheer desperation. Official history painted a picture of stubborn resistance from Japanese stragglers to justify the bloodbath, but the frontline medical journals reveal a collective psychiatric pathology. Records from the field hospitals at Adak diagnosed widespread acute combat fatigue and environment-induced psychosis. Men arrived with permanently dilated pupils, uncontrollable tremors in their hands, and a spatial disorientation so severe they couldn't remember their own names or which way their units were advancing. Extreme sleep deprivation and hypothermia had completely unraveled their prefrontal cortexes, reducing human judgment to a raw, animal reflex. Shoot anything that alters the density of the Arctic mist. Even the animals trapped in the crossfire became part of the tactical hallucination. The stray mutts the Japanese garrison left behind wandered through the rocks looking for food. To twitchy Allied sentries, the clicking of paws on loose basalt was instantly translated into enemy infiltration patrols. They ordered full mortar barrages and rifle volleys against shadows, choking the air with the stench of burnt gunpowder and sulfurous mud. The final tally on the ground was a graveyard of biological and technological failure. The bodies of American and Canadian soldiers lay lined up across the tundra, their faces covered in frost, while command scrambled to cover up the monumental intelligence failure under the sterile label of killed in action. The mountain didn't hold an enemy. It held a mirror, reflecting the raw, multiplied terror of an invasion force left to rot with its own demons. And the true cost of that reflection was about to be sealed in ink. 0.18 milliseconds. That is the exact margin between the structural integrity of a Fletcher-class destroyer and its absolute disintegration. At 0150 hours on August 18th, the USS Abner Read, patrolling the black waters off Kiska, strikes a Japanese drifting mine. This isn't a collision. It is a violent transfer of pure hydrodynamic energy. Seawater, with a density of over 1,000 kilograms per cubic meter, is essentially incompressible. When that TNT charge detonates, the shockwave doesn't dissipate into the air. It is slammed directly against the steel plating of the hull, acting like a hydraulic battering ram capable of pulverizing the highest-grade naval steel. The keel shears at frame 157. The ship doesn't buckle, it snaps like a dry twig. The stern, a massive block of steel housing the No. 5 gun mount and the crew's sleeping quarters, is instantly severed. For a few seconds, the port propeller shaft acts like a dying steel cable stretched to the point of failure before it snaps, dragging the structure into the depths. 72 feet of steel, electrical cables, steam pipes, and living men plummet vertically toward a tomb 300 feet below the surface. If you are trapped inside, there is no time for fear. The sound of the blast is so deafening that your eardrums rupture instantly. The shockwave's overpressure hits your chest, causing massive pulmonary contusions before your brain can even register the catastrophe. But the true horror isn't the impact. It's the smoke screen tanks rupturing in the adjacent compartments. Sulfur trioxide and chlorosulfonic acid are unleashed into the air, creating a corrosive cloud that incinerates your airways the moment you try to gasp for breath. Your eyes seal shut from the chemical burn as the ship lists and freezing seawater rushes in, churning into a toxic slurry with the heavy fuel oil pouring from the ruptured tanks. The darkness isn't absolute. It is jaggedly lit by the flickering sparks of severed electrical cables dying underwater. You grope for the way to the deck, but the steel is twisted into jagged razors that shred your hands and your uniform. Nearly 90 men are thrown into the Bering Sea in the middle of absolute blackness. The water temperature is 34 degrees. It isn't just cold, it is a biological assault. The moment you hit the surface, your peripheral blood vessels constrict in a futile defense, while the icy water hunts the heat of your core. The layer of fuel oil floating on the surface is the final trap. It is thick, viscous, and slick. You can hear the USS Bancroft nearby, dropping rafts and lifelines, but the fuel coats your arms and fingers, making it impossible to gain a grip on anything. You see your shipmates floating beside you, their eyes glazed over, sliding into a hypnotic stupor as their nervous systems begin to shut down. This is the law of thermodynamics collecting its debt. Your body heat is being sucked into the water with ruthless efficiency. Every second you spend there, your motor function fails. Your movements turn erratic, and ventricular fibrillation begins to tick down your final seconds. You are suspended in a vile cocktail of seawater, diesel, and blood, watching the silhouette of your own destroyer fade into the fog, leaving you behind in the liquid silence of the Aleutians. The thermodynamics of the Bering Sea don't forgive miscalculations. When your core temperature dips below 95 degrees Fahrenheit, your body initiates a systematic shutdown. The water surrounding you at 34 degrees has a thermal conductivity 24 times higher than air. Newton's law of cooling manifests here as a death sentence without appeal. The convective heat transfer coefficient, that parameter measuring how aggressively the environment strips you of energy, reaches upwards of 150 watts per square meter Kelvin. It is a massive thermal suction, stripping you of life in a matter of minutes. Your muscles, designed for coordinated contraction, go rigid as if the tissue has transformed into cold wax. This is the defensive spasm. Sensing the collapse of the thermal core, your central nervous system commands extreme peripheral vasoconstriction. Blood abandons your hands, your feet, your skin, a desperate, futile maneuver against the vastness of the Arctic Ocean. Your fingers, coated in that viscous, sticky film of fuel oil from the Abner Read's ruptured tanks, desperately try to find a grip on the lifeline tossed from the USS Bancroft, but the synthetic material is so slick that your hands slide over it like polished glass. While you struggle to keep your head above the surface, the fog thickens. Your breathing turns erratic, short, uncontrollable gasps. This is the mammalian dive reflex. Your body, in a final act of biological confusion, tries to prevent water from entering your lungs, but the fatigue is suffocating. Your respiratory spasms turn into inhalations of a toxic mixture, diesel and chlorosulfonic acid. That chemical cloud released by the destroyer's rupturing smoke tanks has saturated the air just above the waterline. Your lungs inflame. The burn is unbearable. an internal chemical fire that kills your breath and accelerates cerebral hypoxia. You begin to see bright flashes in your peripheral vision, an optical phenomenon caused by oxygen deprivation in the visual cortex. Your thoughts, which moments ago were a storm of adrenaline and terror, are diluting. The rage over the tactical situation is gone. The panic of war has evaporated. All that remains is a void, a deceptive, creeping calm that precedes ventricular fibrillation. Your heart, which tried to compensate for the thermal loss by pumping at a frantic rate, begins to lose its rhythm. The electrical impulses coordinating the beat turn chaotic. The organ flutters in your chest like a trapped bird, losing the ability to move blood. A few yards away, a shipmate floats with his gaze fixed on the clouded sky. He is silent. This is hypnotic stupor. His eyes are open, but they no longer focus. The cold has nullified his ability to process external stimuli. Hypothermia has won the battle against his survival instinct. The water, that heavy black mass, claims him with absolute gentleness, dragging him down toward the 300-foot bottom where the pressure will crush the last of the air from his cavities. You are still here, with burning lungs and locked muscles, watching the light fade from the eyes of those around you. Operation Cottage wasn't decided on a command map by generals pointing with sticks. It was decided here in this moment, where fluid physics and the fragility of naval design collided with the reality of a sea that knows no mercy. Every passing second brings your biological clock closer to zero, while the destroyer, a steel structure you trusted to keep you safe, vanishes into the mist like a spectre of twisted metal. The incompressibility of water isn't a scientific theory. It is the force pressing against your ribs right now, reminding you that, to the ocean, you are nothing more than a heat source about to expire. There is no glory in the Kiska campaign. There is only the rot of 100 cases of severe trench foot. The mechanism is a process of slow cellular degradation that begins the moment your permeable leather boots saturate with the moisture of the muskeg and the sweat of your own labor. Physiology is non-negotiable. Peripheral vasoconstriction, your body's desperate failed attempt to maintain core temperature, strangles the circulation to the soft tissues of your feet. The resulting oxygen deprivation causes tissue ischemia, which quickly spirals into aseptic necrosis. Your feet lose sensation, then color, then viability. When the field medics in Erdak finally cut the boots off the survivors, the tissue gave off a rancid, sweet stench of decaying organic matter. Wet gangrene. The solution wasn't a medical miracle, it was the scalpel. Partial amputations to salvage what remained of a body you no longer recognized as your own. But the physical damage was merely a symptom of a greater pathology, the cognitive blindness of the High Command. Rear Admiral Kinkaid had every technical piece of evidence concerning the Japanese evacuation right in front of him. The total radio silence since late July, the absolute absence of anti-aircraft fire, aerial reconnaissance photos showing empty docks and abandoned airstrips. It was all there, laid bare. But the human mind possesses a pathological resistance to accepting evidence that shatters its confirmation bias. Kinkaid needed an enemy. He needed the Japanese to be there, entrenched, waiting, and lethal, because that was the narrative that justified the previous butchery on Attu. His mental rigidity marched 34,000 men onto a deserted island where the only true enemies were the fear, the fog, and the soldiers' own capacity to slaughter one another. History has tried to sweep these events under the rug of military strategy, labeling it a logistical success for reclaiming territory without direct combat. But the forensic record is incorruptible. 95 dead, over 200 wounded, a destroyer obliterated, an invasion force dismantled by its own paranoia. Kiska was no victory. It was a brutal experiment in how bureaucracy, primitive technology, and biological fragility collapse under an environmental pressure that recognizes neither rank nor medals. You have walked through the fog. You have felt the suction of the mud, heard the dry report of fratricidal fire, and felt the chill of the Bering Sea extinguishing the hearts of men who were supposed to be saved. You have seen, through this forensic audit, that war is not always about epic battles. Often, it is about men being devoured by the indifference of an environment that never wanted them there. If this descent into reality, stripped of propaganda and empty heroics, has served its purpose, then you understand what is at stake when command disconnects itself from both empathy and logic. The truth about what happened in the Aleutians is only the first layer. There are other files, other catastrophes where technology and humanity collided in even more disturbing ways. If you are truly searching for the truth behind the archives, subscribe now, not to consume stories but to act as a witness, to ensure that oblivion does not claim those left behind in the mist. The file is open. The next case study on human fragility is already waiting, and the cold, it is far from over.